I bring out my mobile and I started paying him using my favorite UPI app. I tried multiple times, it failed again and again. Pushed my hand to my pocket, I realized I don't have wallet and cash. A bad user experience and unavailability of app is impacting your top line and as well as bottom line.
What would be those experiences that gave you that kind of a push?
As Infosys co-founders like Nandan and Shibulal, in around 2004-5 time frame, started realizing that India should actually become a product nation.
And has there been a time where you thought that hanging up the boots is the easier option?
There are at least couple of times where we were like have only 3 to 4 months of money left. Can AI help me? One is detect, identify, find a root cause, and then autonomously with Agentic AI go ahead and fix it. India will be a superpower. Rupee will become universal currency. Make sure that somebody learns selling.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Beyond the Boardroom by Veloxx Media, where India's most influential leaders share their experiences, insights, and vision for the future. Our guest today is a technology entrepreneur and product leader who has played a key role in helping enterprises strengthen their digital resilience and accelerate transformation. As the co-founder and chief product officer of VuNet Systems, Bharat Joshi has been instrumental in building innovation solutions that enable organizations to deliver seamless digital experiences while ensuring operational excellence. Join me in welcoming Bharat Joshi, co-founder and chief product officer, VuNet Systems. Hi Bharat, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for giving us the time, and really looking forward to this interesting discussion.
Thank you so much, Mohit. Really excited to be here, and really humbled to be invited to this podcast. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. But before jumping into the technicalities, of your work and the kind of work that you've been doing for, let's say, past couple of decades, let's try and understand the person, right? Now, before you became a founder or a product leader, I'm sure there was a young professional who was just looking into and navigating among opportunities, challenges. So what would be those experiences that gave you that kind of a push, where you thought that you want to co-found VuNet and looking towards changing something? So what could be those instances or events,
Right.
if you want to share?
Right. So, see, let me tell you one thing that I think if somebody reaches some place, right, a lot of people say that, oh, I had planned everything and then I knew that I'll be here at this point of time and so on. But I think most of them will be lying, right? Because planning something to reach some place is very, very difficult. So that is what has happened in my case as well. I have not planned exactly to be here where I am today. But as you rightly said, that there are events which have happened for me to be here today, right? So let me start from my childhood. I come from a very small town called Ramnagar, which is near very Jim Corbett National Park.
Oh.
Right. So my father is a businessman, used to be a businessman. He built his business from scratch, right? And he used to work very hard. So one thing what I realized very early on, and this is something which I've been following for last 30 years of my journey, is that if you really work hard, you will be able to achieve great things. Right? And this is something which I've been following very dedicatedly in my life, right? And from very small town of Ramnagar, I went to do engineering, and I was one of the very few luckiest person in that small village who could really get out of that small town and then did my engineering. Post engineering, I went to Reliance, right? Reliance at the time was building this largest grassroots refinery in Jamnagar, and I was part of that team which basically built it, right? And I mean, the scale with which Reliance works, right?
Tremendous.
What I really understood there was your ability to think big and then execute relentlessly. These two things actually separate Reliance from any other company in the world, right?
100%.
And there, I was responsible for very small but very critical component, something like cathodic protection, which was basically making sure that these pipes which are laid out for the refinery do not get corroded, right? And as part of that, I got to meet the people who are basically running the refinery. I made the presentation to them. Think about it, a GET who is just fresh out of college has been given this responsibility to present something a critical component to the heads of those refinery. It was an amazing experience. Post that, I basically moved on to Infosys, where I learned software. I did not had any other understanding of software before. Uh, I basically, again, from what I talked about, right, the trait which I started with the hardworking part, I actually myself pushed myself to start learning IP networking, and then went ahead and also created certain standards with IETF. That's a basically standard body, international standard body, which
Mm-hmm.
actually creates standards on which the internet runs, right? And that was a fantastic experience there in Infosys. Infosys taught me ethics, values, and customer centricity. This is something which I think Infosys has been known for in
That's
the
right.
world, right?
That's
That
right.
they are the world class software services company which NRN and Nandan and other people built, right? Uh, so these are the things which happened in my career. These companies has really shaped me. Uh, I won't call that I'm really doing everything what I learned, but I try to
Of course.
use all these experiences, learning in whatever I do today.
Anyways, it's an ongoing trait, right?
Yes,
It's,
yes,
it's
very
you can't
much.
really say where it ends, right? So, Bharat, before really trying to understand when and how did you take that leap of faith and founded VuNet, let's understand that the problem statement which you and your co-founders thought that it is worth solving,
Right.
right? So, what was that gap and what was the original vision behind starting VuNet?
Right. So let me give you a little bit of history first,
Sure.
right? When we were in Infosys, uh, the three co-founders who started VuNet, we were part of the product R&D group.
Mm-hmm.
So what really happened is Infosys co-founders like Nandan and Shibulal, in around 2004-5 timeframe, started realizing that India should actually become a product nation, right? And that's when this vision of creating products in inside Infosys was born.
Okay.
And the idea was that Infosys will incubate these product companies, solving a very specific pain point. And once it reaches a critical mass, it will basically get spun out of. That's the view which we had, and we were the first team which were moved under product R&D group, and we started developing India's first indigenous router platform. Right. So if you look at it, like people have started talking about sovereign and make in India tech now, and we were actually started doing it way back in 2004-5 timeframe, right? So so what happened is that we started having this vision that we want to create great products from
Mm-hmm.
India, and we signed an MOU with BEL, and then there are a lot of work which we ended up doing there, right? It was supposed to spun out, but unfortunately it could not happen. And at that time we were trying to figure out what do we do with ourselves, right? I mean, having so much of experience, and we wanted to use it for the right purpose, right? So we started thinking what we should do, and that's when the genesis of VuNet was
Mm-hmm.
born, right? I mean, we started talking about that, what next we should do and what problem we should solve and so on, right? uh, and at that time we looked at various pain points people have. We have looked at ourselves, our life, in terms of what pain points we have, but then we never had any experience on creating some products on the B2C side, right? So that's when we started looking at problem statement on the B2B side. So we started with a problem statement which was more closer to what we have been doing,
Mm.
networking and cybersecurity. And we came up with this challenge, what we felt or believed that company is having on the network security. So we came up with a product genesis of network security analytics, which will give you a decent understanding of how your security, network security is within your data center or within your enterprise. And this was something which was well received by, there's a company called Paladin Networks, and they felt that they are a MSSP. They felt that they can take it to the market, and that's how VuNet was born, because there was a need, and we basically had the technology know
Mm-hmm.
how to fill that gap.
Okay, that's where you thought that your last 10 years can now really
Yes.
form into a
So,
solution.
so if I can give you the vision which we started with,
Mm-hmm.
we really did not thought that okay, we will do a network security analytics platform, but the vision was that we wanted to create a globally loved world class software product company out of it. The again the background was that when we were working at Infosys and we used to talk to our friends, family,
Hmm.
and others, right? We always were told, oh no, Infosys is a services company,
Right.
right? And they really build products and so on, right? So we wanted to change
Then no,
this notion of that India can build
can
great
build
products
products.
and they will be globally loved. So
That's
that's the
that's
vision we started.
that's now let's say jumping to today, 10, 11, 12 years later on, where VuNet now has worked with some very large enterprises, financial institutions, right? But for those who are discovering VuNet for the very first time, how would you describe the company's mission and the impact it has already created and then it aims to create as well, right? Because now the working style and the goal that you guys have is pretty much confined and clear as well, right?
Right.
So what would you how would you tell about VuNet?
So see, when I'm trying to talk about VuNet, right, I try to tell this story to people, right? See, one day uh, I took my car out. I went to a petrol bunk. I was filling this petrol for rupees 2,000 rupees, right?
Okay.
And uh, as we nowadays know, almost everybody does, right? uh, I bring out my mobile and I started paying him using my favorite UPI
Right.
app. What I realized is that this payment was failing. I tried multiple times, it failed again and again.
Right. That's right.
And it basically says that, okay, your bank is not available, or this is
The
not
bank
working,
server
or
is
that is not working.
down.
Yeah, right. So different sort of errors which keeps coming. Now you imagine my horror that when I push my hand to my pocket, I realize I don't have wallet
Cash. Yeah.
and cash, and it became very embarrassing situation for me. But because I was very close to my house, I immediately called my wife. She came and bailed me out. What I'm trying to tell you is that as Indians today, we have become a little over dependent upon some of these digital apps
That's right.
which we have in our mobile. Right? People are using mobile not only as a device to call people; they are also using it as camera, as wallet, as ID, and so on.
Calling
Right?
now is slightly, I think, a
Right.
single digit
Right.
percentage
Now
contributor.
think of situations where you are completely dependent on such apps
Hmm.
and they don't work.
Right.
Right. So what is really happening is that any enterprise today are basically digitally transforming themselves
Correct.
because they want to reach out to their customer through various digital channels. Now, if your customer who basically is availing these services from you is not getting good experience, they will churn. They will go and start using some other
Some other
uh,
solution.
application,
Yes.
solution, and other ways of doing it, right? Which means a bad user experience and unavailability or app is impacting your top line and as well as bottom line.
Absolutely.
And that is why a product like ours becomes very critical for some of our customers, because our product ensures that you have visibility into how your application is performing for your end users and how they are available. And if there is a challenge on a real time basis, you get a visibility into what is failing, why it is failing, and how you can go ahead and fix so that you can avoid those revenue leakage.
Hmm.
You can save your top line, bottom line. And the most important thing is that the enterprise brand, which may get impacted because you are not able to provide those good services to your end customers, actually gets.
Very, very practically put as well, Bharat. Now, before really jumping into your leadership journey, and trying to understand, what has been the learnings from building a company like VuNet, let's take up on the point which you picked up of visibility and observability, and I think that's something which you speak about quite often as well.
Right.
But from a business perspective, why have these become more of a boardroom conversations rather than purely a technology conversations?
Right. See, there are two parts to it, right? Um, in If you look at India, right? India is a very young country,
Indeed.
right? Now, you look at these young people who basically is your customer today
Yeah.
are usually defined by two characters. One is this young country or young India is very impatient. Second, they are much more driven by better user experience than maybe
Very true.
their elders or seniors, right?
Yes.
They are willing to pay. If you look at it,
Correct.
if they get better user experience, if they don't need to be in line
Yeah.
for something, they are obviously willing to pay more. So these two characteristics define the end user today for most of these enterprises. Now, if they really want to hold on to these customers, they need to make sure that their application or digital channel which they are using to service these customers are actually always available,
Yes.
and they always provide the best user experience. So these two becomes very, very important. So earlier, people used to say, almost 15, 20 years back, people used to say IT is an enabler. But now IT has become a core, because if your IT or application infrastructure is not performing up to the mark, then it becomes a very big challenge, right? And that is why when the boards have started looking at the digital channel
Mhm.
requirements, operations, and how the users or the end customers are actually being served. And that is why it has started becoming more of uh, what kind of transactions have come, right? How many of them have failed? How many of them have failed because of the challenges we have in our environment we could have actually have fixed,
Mhm.
right? What is the kind of latency you have in these digital channels?
Right.
Am I servicing my customers fast enough? Because a lot of time when you open an app, right, you start seeing this buffering thing,
Exactly.
and then you get frustrated very
Nowadays,
fast.
even that is also frustrating,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that is actually is part of how you define your user experience,
Hmm.
right, from technology side.
Exactly.
So what has happened is this observability or the visibility into your application infrastructure, which gives you an understanding of how your application is performing for your end user, is what has become very critical. And that is why it is becoming a boardroom conversation. In fact, my friend actually started when we were discussing this, right? He started arguing that the large enterprises should actually create a newer role, chief observability officer.
Oh.
His way of looking at is that uh, the business actually has to really have a very deep understanding of how their end customer experience is. If they do not have, then they are losing the game.
Basically, understanding what kind of contribution a customer experience puts towards your top line and both bottom line as
Right,
well, right?
right.
Understand. Quite valid. Quite a valid point as well. Now let's talk about the scary part of it, which is the downtime, right? Which you just mentioned that, and which is very much applicable as well nowadays. If the application stops working at a wrong time and a wrong place, that stays in the customer's mind for a very
Right.
long time,
Very true.
and you instantly start looking for a substitute,
Very
right?
true.
So this few seconds, not even few minutes, few seconds of downtime, how do you think it can impact, customer trust, brand reputation, and eventually revenue as well? The digital resilience now become a competitive advantage rather than just a technology requirement, do you think?
Yes, very much. So what has happened is that, see, earlier it was very easy for people to actually go physically to get something done,
Right.
right? People had time, and then there are ways and means available.
Hmm.
But since this digital transformation has taken in place, right, and enterprises are trying to reach to more customers faster, better, cheaper, by doing digitally transforming themselves, that is putting that stress on the environment, the application as well as infrastructure, right? So you have to have a highly resilient architecture. If you have not thought through in terms of what your application architecture is, or how your delivery infrastructure looks like, right, and whether you really have a high availability in place, whether you really have a data center and a disaster recovery data center, right, whether you really have a business continuity process, right, all of these actually are sort of pillar for your resiliency. So resiliency is nothing but how your application infrastructure adopt and quickly recover from failures, right? The downtime which you talked about is actually a very big problem for the enterprises if their customers is trying to do something,
Correct.
right, and they are not able to do it at that point of time. And it is not that you can do it after 15 minutes.
You
You
can.
have to do it at that time, right? If at that time it is not available, it becomes a big problem. So this is why the resiliency is becoming very, very critical. If you look at, right, modern application people who are basically trying to really do better, they are winning only on because their applications are always available,
Hmm.
and they are able to provide better user experience. See, finally, at the end, right, most of these are very similar, right, because they are solving a similar pain point.
Similar pain point.
It's
Yeah.
just that which actually is always available to me
Correct.
makes the difference.
Even if it's not realized by the customer, it still is one of the topmost priority
Yeah.
with the application.
So one of the thing what will happen in near future is people will assume it is available,
It is,
and you
yes.
have to, so it will become so transparent. It'll be like a commodity thing, right? That okay, if I put my phone up and if I am trying to do a UPI transaction, it's always available.
It is gonna
So
happen.
then you are now if you are coming up new, You have to really better that.
That reminds me of some of the Hollywood movies as well, actually. When the applications are down, right? Now you work with some of the largest, enterprises, professionals, leaders as well. What do you still think that there are few of the misconception that leaders are still have regarding customer experience, the operational visibility, or maybe let's say digital transformation from a broader perspective?
There is obviously a lot of gaps were there earlier on some of these digital transformation initiatives,
Mhm.
which has been plugged quite a bit. But what I saw when we really started VuNet, we were really shocked to see that there was no monitoring, right? And we were really surprised that how these banks are running,
Yeah,
right? Um, they are generally dependent on, okay, some customer is calling, boss, there is some
there's
problem,
a
why don't you
problem.
fix it, right? Now from there to today, where people are proactively able to figure out that there is a problem happening, proactively figure out, okay, my business is getting impacted, and nobody's waiting for a customer call to come, right? From that, we have made a lot of progress, right? From where we started and what we were seeing earlier to what we are seeing. One thing what we have realized over time, when we keep talking to customers, consultants, and so on, what we realize is that while they are putting in this whole digital transformation initiatives, lot of time, the amount of effort, time, and space given to observability, resiliency, and so on, we would want most of these consultants and people who are building these initiatives to really use resiliency as a day zero problem when they're designing or
Exactly.
architecting their application or infrastructure. That day itself they should figure out, okay, if I am going to put it, and if my application is being used as citizen scale, how will I make sure that I still provide the best user experience? How will I make sure that this application is always available, right? So so there are on the observability side, we have started evangelizing something called embedded observability. What it really means is that when you're designing your application, that day itself you embed observability into your design.
Right.
So when you are looking at a transaction being processed within your application, what steps it goes through, each
Hmm.
step throwing some log metrics and so on,
Correct.
right? So it becomes easy for somebody later when it is getting deployed for your user to understand how this application is performing, why and how my user experience is getting impacted and so
Correct. And not really use this as an additional branch of
on. Yes.
discussion or include this in the list of additional FAQs, right?
Correct. So what really happens is that, I mean, I'm telling you this, but this is something which I have seen almost everywhere. People go ahead and deploy the application.
They do.
People will say, boss, we will scale it to maybe first 1,000 users.
Exactly.
They do not have a clue how this application is performing,
Right.
right? They do not have any monitoring. They do not have any resiliency. When the 1,000 suddenly become 1 lakh, then they realize, oh,
Exactly.
no user is able to log in, or it is very slow, or it is failing left, right, and center, and then they started, okay, what do we need to do, right?
Correct.
And that's when they start thinking. So my just request is that they should start very early on.
Completely. I think that's going to be one of the the take from this discussion as well. So no, very rightly put. Now, uh, Bharat, you're talking about digital transformation, and in today's time, when we talk about it, we cannot leave the topic of artificial intelligence, on a side. Uh, and it has been transforming almost every aspect of any company's operations as well. We can say even our daily lifestyle as well.
Definitely.
But what excites you about AI's potential, or maybe let's say on the other side, what concerns you the most?
This is very exciting time,
Yeah.
right? What was not possible maybe a couple of years back has become possible. Now you look at, yesterday I was seeing one Instagram reel where a auto driver is using a chat GPT to read his palm, and he's saying that whatever it tells him is almost accurate,
Wow.
right? So I mean, AI has different use for different people, right? But if you look at from the enterprise side, right,
Hmm.
while AI is being adopted for very specific use cases in observability or resiliency per se, I think this will solve some of the very critical challenges. One of the thing is that 6 to 8 years back, people did not had monitoring, or they were very reactive, right? Reactive in the sense that problem has happened. Now you, after half an hour, 45 minutes or 1 hour, somebody calls and then you come
Correct.
to know. Or if you have a monitoring solution, it gives you some view that something is going wrong. From there to now, we have become a little bit more proactive. I have figured out that, okay, if this is the trend for my application, maybe now after 5 minutes, 10
Mhm.
minutes, things are going to go bad, right? My business is going to get impacted. But AI will bring in two or three things which basically will be very helpful. One is we will be able to answer a question, what is impacted, in the sense that maybe the threshold which I generally put for my, let's say, various metric, maybe it is not breached,
Hmm.
but there is a problem. So this is something which we call as anomaly, right? Things have been working fine, but then some other burst came and then it
Yeah.
became an anomaly. Finding anomalies using AI is something very good way to figure out these small challenges. Second thing is, I believe that once a problem happens, so detecting a problem, identifying a problem, that okay, detecting as in that something is going wrong, my, like we discussed, right, that maybe my page is loading very slow, so I can detect a problem, that page is loading slow.
Correct.
Then identifying where the problem is. The whole application infrastructure is very complex now, but figuring out or pinpointing that okay, this is where the
Particular
problem
position.
is also now we are able to do. But figuring out how do we resolve this problem is the challenge.
Correct.
So now that is where AI will be very useful, right? Third thing which I am seeing now, we have been started talking about it as well as a lot of other people are asking for it. Can I converse with this? I do not want to really understand so much of data you are trying to show me through dashboards and reports and so on. Can I just ask a question? Can I ask a question like, okay, what sort of problems has been happening in my application which is impacting my user experience? Can you tell me top what these when these problems happen? What sort of component were involved
Events
in?
really made this.
Yes. So we are calling it conversational observability, where I can actually go ahead and ask. And one of the vision which a lot of customers, at least one of the CEO of very large BFSI enterprise I was talking to, he had a vision of no ops, where he's saying, boss, I do not want people sit in front of a monitor or large TV and try to keep seeing, okay, something is becoming green to red. And when it becomes red, I'll take an action. Why do we need that? Why do we want to waste people's life like that? So, can AI help me? One is I detect, identify, find a root cause, and then autonomously with agentic AI, sort of a full loop I should be able to run with AI. So I think in near future, maybe in a 1 year, 2 year, or maybe some places, very smaller things, we are already able to do it. But in couple of years, I think it will become a reality.
Okay, that was actually going to be my follow-up question as well. That do you really see a future where systems can not just identify, but actually
Right.
predict and resolve issues before humans can even detect?
As I said, right, that I think this is where the future is going to be. With AI advent, like whatever advancement is happening in
Hmm.
AI, I think it will become a reality very soon. The only challenge which I feel we need to be aware of is the guardrails. Because once you bring in autonomous AI into the picture, you need to be very sure what decisions it is taking, what it is executing in terms of fixing that problem. Has it been verified very clearly in terms of, okay, this is what we are trying to fix, right? And then having an audit trail in terms of what all decision it take,
Hmm.
reasoning it did, and then came up with this sort of execution.
So we say that current times are really interesting, but in fact, the future
Is
is
more
gonna be
more exciting.
more exciting. Excellent, excellent, Bharat. Okay, moving on. Let's try and understand your entrepreneurial journey as well,
Right.
right? It's never a straight line, correct? I think nowadays most of us come from some or the other side of that journey. But what has been some of the biggest challenges you have faced with VuNet's journey, and has there been a time where you thought that hanging up the boots is the easier option and not really continue? What's the journey has been sort like?
So let me tell you this very frankly, very honestly. If somebody says that they did not had any ups and down and everything is like a
Oh,
straight line, they are lying,
in straight
right?
put it.
And down is lot of time more than the ups which you may
Exactly.
have, right? Uh, See, the biggest challenge, if you ask me, we have had is mainly to make sure that we have enough money uh,
Correct.
in the account or in the bank to basically pay for salaries,
That's
right?
right.
The kind of background we came with, where we had worked in Infosys, amazing amount of work, fantastic team we had. So we really understood and we were very confident that any technology problem you throw at us, we'll be able to solve, right? So that's the confidence we had.
The mindset was built.
Yeah. So we knew on technology side we cannot have any challenges at
Yeah.
all, right? But the problem with startups is you not only have to build, you have to sell.
Sell.
And none of us had any background on selling, right? So we were very naive when we started, thinking that okay, the word is very good and everything happens and so on, right? So that is where the challenge for us came. Second thing is we have had, when we started, right, we set out certain targets for us that 9 months this should happen, 1.5 years this should happen, 2 years we should be able to do this much. So we have been very very lucky to find people who believed in us, both from people who basically funded us as well as both who became customers, right? So that way actually the things keep happening. There are at least couple of times where we were like have only 3 to 4 months of money left.
Oh.
uh, and we had to take decision, okay, we will not take any money. We actually for first 2.5 years we did not take any money.
Oh.
But even after that couple of times it so happened that okay, for next 3 months no salary, no nothing is coming to
Wow.
you, right? uh, but all of these times, right, somehow someone appeared we would have talked to. Either they become a paying customer or they came back with some funding, and we could survive. So yeah, so those were, and I would not say that we thought of quitting as such. We actually, I don't think last 12 years journey or 11 years journey we ever thought that now it is done, we should quit.
Amazing.
uh, but we were always looking at, okay, if this doesn't happen, maybe we need to try option 2, option 3, option 4. But there was no option like okay, quit sort of thing.
Excellent. But now, again, following up on what you've just said. So as a business owner and at the same time as a CPO as well, you keep jumping among number of things, innovation, customer experiences, and then the business side of it as well.
Right.
Right. So how do you guys, maybe you and your, the founding team, you decide that what's more important, or maybe let's say, what's okay, this is something that we can ignore for a while, we can keep on the table for some time. How does that decision making really
See,
happen?
the product which we were working on, it's not that it was a completely new sort of product, right? But what we changed is the category part.
Correct.
So everybody was saying that we are a APM solution or we are a monitoring platform and so on. And what we realized very early on that none of these guys are solving for business.
Right.
So we sort of created separate narrative or created separate category, which if you like Google, our name will come at the top, is the business journey observability.
I think it was the positioning of the problem actually.
Correct. So the
That it
problem is
changed.
still monitoring.
Correct.
But the problem what everybody is trying to solve is for the IT ops guys. We started solving it for both business guys as well as IT ops. We brought in a lot of business context on top of this operational data to give them a view that what kind of user experience is getting
Exactly.
impacted.
You connected it with the money.
So that is what people really loved, right? And most of our early customers really felt that okay, this is a very different way and maybe the right way to look at this problem. Right? And that's how they basically choose VuNet over a lot of our MNC billion-dollar competitors.
Now, as a co-founder as well, you see a lot of companies getting started, getting built up, getting that kind of a hefty investments as well, and they further invest in digital transformation also, right? Still, there are a significant number of them that kind of struggle to create those measurable business outcomes. In your view, why do you think that there's so many transformation initiatives they still fail despite all kind of financial and the managerial support that comes within? Why do they still fail?
What we have seen, finally they succeed. I mean,
Eventually, yeah.
but they basically take a lot of time.
Correct.
One thing what we realize is that we were discussing about the citizen scale problem.
Exactly, yes.
Right? Lot of these people actually try to scale very early sometime or do not scale at all. So both creates a different set of problems. Right? That is one thing which we have seen very often. Second is that the afterthought of security as well as observability or resiliency in terms of how my user experience is if they are being serviced using this digital application. the connection between these two really do not happen because both of these are working in completely silo. The operation team will do one part of it, the business team will have a lot of time the data which they are looking at is also coming from two different streams. So while your operational data is saying, well, there is a problem, but your business guys are looking at some other data which
Correct.
doesn't throw that problem. So these are the things which we have seen more often, which led to a longer gestation period for making it.
Let's come, as a last part of the segment. Let's try and understand VuNet internally a bit. Now, to make any company sizable and at the same time, have that great competitive advantage, culture is very important,
Very
right?
true. Very true.
And so, one thing I would like to understand is how have you built that kind of a culture, and what are the core values of that culture around which they are built?
Right.
And then culture is built by buy-in among people, correct?
Very true.
Around people as well. So when you or your team, let's say, do a hiring, what are the kind of those features which you're looking into your potential team members? So yeah, two
Right.
questions in it.
Very good. I think this will be very helpful if we are, I mean, people are listening to it and they want to work with VuNet.
Eventually,
That will be very helpful. No, see, one thing we are very proud of is, very, very proud of it is the culture of VuNet, right? I am sure if you talk to people who are currently working with us or anybody who has left and joined somewhere else,
Mhm.
right, will vouch for that VuNet really had a great culture. See, this is when we are really looking at people, right? That we are looking at 3 or 4 very interesting traits of people who we basically want to bring into. Very first one is learnability. Today, it doesn't matter what kind of coding you know Python, Go, doesn't really matter.
Correct.
If you are very high on learnability, you are able to learn something quickly and deep, right? So this is one first thing which we look at. Second thing we look at is the collaborative part.
Mhm.
Are you able to work with the team?
With the team.
Are
Very
you
important.
able to talk to people, get to help you, or you are able to help people
Exactly.
when they require it? So the collaboration is the second part. Third thing which we basically look at is the customer centricity. Do you really believe and feel for the customer, right? You might be writing a single line of code, but do you have an idea that that single line of code will be impacting customer experience in some form or fashion?
Right. It's a very
I-
Amazon mindset.
Yeah. So I keep telling my people, right? Even if you're writing an internal email, right, that actually email is somewhere getting mapped to your customer value.
Customer value.
So please make sure that you keep this in mind, that whatever email you are writing is actually bringing in more value to the customer.
Right.
Right. The final thing is the attention to details. So while people do a lot of stuff, right, if they are not having this attention to very, very small details which really matters, right, then it becomes very difficult. So while we'll do look for attitude and all, but if these 4 5 things are there, I think most of our people will feel like that.
Exactly.
I mean, the one comment which I keep, so I have a habit of talking to people who have joined VuNet and been with us for maybe 1 or 3 months. So I just go and try talking to them about exactly how are they feeling, what are they thinking, how do they like VuNet and so on, right? So one of the consistent thing I have got is people are very nice, right? And these are the people I want to come to office and work with,
Oh, nice.
right? So that is something which I
Has
am
to be
really
there.
proud of.
And let's talk about slightly about the future as well. Now looking ahead, what excites you about VuNet's future the most? Are there any specific opportunities that you guys are targeting? Any milestones? And then taking it to a little to an additional distance, you and your co-founders, what would be that legacy? Let's call it a legacy which you guys would like to leave behind
Right.
with
Right.
VuNet.
Right. See, we are very excited. As I said, right, that this is something which is a very, very good time for Indian product companies, right? The whole ecosystem actually has really evolved in last few years, right? And VuNet has really played a part. At least I feel it that way, because we have been at the center of this digital payment revolution in India, where we have helped all of our customers making sure that they're all the UPI type of application or banking application are able to provide better user experience too. And since last 1 or 2 years, right, everybody has started talking about sovereign of data,
Right. Yes.
Make in India platform and so on. And I think we are the only Indian company in this space who is able to compete with these billion-dollar MNCs from US and other places. And that is something which we are again very proud of, right? That we are able to hold on to and maybe some places replace some of
Mhm.
these large competitors of us, right? And I think uh, we see we are at a very right place at the right time. Things are happening in a very I mean, वो शाहरुख खान का डायलॉग है ना, everybody actually
कायनात लग जाती है.
yeah, so everybody actually comes together to make that happen for
So
you.
nice.
So we feel that we are basically at that stage right now.
You're doing something right. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah. And if you look at the future, right, we believe we can really make VuNet a very large company, right? We have all the ingredients now in place, from product side, from sales team side, from marketing side, from business support side, and so on, right? And we have very good investors who have been with us, and they basically keep us make sure that we basically are doing the right things at the right place. So all the ingredients are in place. We need to execute it right. We believe in next couple of years we should look at our sorted IPO, is what I would think, right? And that is something which we will put it as ourselves as
Absolutely.
a north star, that let's go and try achieving
Oh,
that.
all the very best for that. Bharat, before we will jump to the rapid fire segment, right? One thing I'd like to understand and learn as well, that who has been, let's say, who has had a very significant influence on your leadership philosophy. Has there been any professionals in the past or any names that you'd like to mention?
Some part of it, I think, is inspired by the way I have seen closely my father working. Other than that, I think I am very inspired by, like I talked about, right, that the way Reliance thinks
Yes.
and execute. I am just a very big fan. And post that, I have become a very big fan of our honorable PM Narendra Modi ji. The way they execute, and at the citizen scale, their ability to execute various programs is just commendable. I mean, they are very, very inspiring.
You're quite
Yes.
right, and I think if it does happen, if in the very early stages of your career, if you worked with a very significant name, that learning really stays with
Right.
you, right? So yeah, I'm sure Reliance would have been a great impact on your on your overall thought. And again, just trying to add another one. What advice you would give now to those first generation entrepreneurs who are building products for India and within India itself, because that's something which is very core of
Right.
VuNet's and your
Right.
journey as well, right?
Right. See, one thing what we realize, or I, when I look back, right, I see choice of the space in which you want to create a product. You obviously have to have a very deep understanding of the domain, of the technology which you want to work with. This is a very first. Second thing, what we learned from our, because we pivoted from network security to observability. What we realize is that there is somebody who is willing to take a bet on us and our product. But when we went to the market, we realized we are very early in the market. Right? So you need to make sure that you talk to multiple people who is really having that pain point or the
Right.
challenge which you are trying to solve, right? Uh, the third thing is, if you are all technology guy, please make sure that somebody learns selling, right? Because that's extremely important.
India do
Yeah,
need that.
yeah, because uh, selling is really a science and art and commerce and whatever you can say, which an engineer really do not understand,
Correct.
right? And enterprise selling is very different,
That's right.
right? So that is
That's right.
something which we are still learning, right? Uh, but one thing is that you have to be really persistent, because downs definitely will come every other day, every other week, maybe continuous days, continuous weeks. But you should be very resilient,
That's right.
right? Like we are talking about the application infrastructure,
Correct.
the entrepreneur also should be very resilient. They should be able to adopt, they should be able to recover fast from failures and so on.
Keep pushing the doors. Was really interesting, and kind of a I would say in some cases was like an eye opener as well, Bharat. Let's move towards the next segment, which is the rapid fire round. So
Sure.
don't think too much, right? Just say what comes to your either your mind or to your tongue, right? Just let it come.
Sure.
Okay, one word that defines leadership for you.
Empathy.
One technology that will define the next decade.
I think it will be SLMs. That is basically short language models.
Mhm.
So everybody is using large language models like OpenChat, GPT, and ChatGPT, and so. But what we believe on the enterprise side as well as on the consumer side, these SLMs or AI at the edge, right, or generative AI at the edge, is what will become very very critical.
AI Copilot or human intuition?
Human intuition wins every time for.
Build fast or build right?
See, I am a fan of iteration, so I would say build fast.
Product innovation or speed to market?
Speed to market.
The best career advice you have ever received?
I don't. I sort of given this advice to myself that I should put my head down and go deeper, learn given technology or domain and whatever thing I am basically working on, and make sure I spend time on this. And that has worked wonderfully for me.
Excellent. I mean, the advice should work even if it is yours, right? One leader you admire the most?
As I said, most recently I started admiring our PM Narendra Modi just because he execute amazingly.
One thing people don't know about Bharat Joshi?
I don't know. I think a lot of people would not know that I trekked to Everest Base Camp last
Oh,
year
you have.
with my son.
Amazing. Quite an achievement for him as well.
Yeah.
Right? India in 2014, one sentence.
India will be a superpower, and I think rupee will become universal currency.
Excellent. Now coming to the closing part of our discussion, Bharat. Now, if there is one message you would like every, let's say, entrepreneur or a product builder or a future technology leader who's watching this episode, and you want them to remember, what would be that, one message?
It is important to enjoy the journey. So while you should definitely have your North Star figured out that, okay, we want to reach here or we want to do this and that. But it is very important to celebrate those small wins which you are basically getting during this journey. The second thing is that I believe that people should be very happy in what they do. If you are not happy in or not enjoying what you're doing, then maybe you should try figuring out if you can do something else. The last part is that for people who are just starting or they want to do something, I think there is enough time and effort has to be. I keep telling my kids also that you look at Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Roger Federer, people who have really done anything for a long time, right?
Exactly.
They have been very, very disciplined about their routine or they put a lot of hard work.
That's right.
So without that, I mean, this is my personal belief that people don't succeed without that.
Excellent, Bharat. I think I totally agree, and I take those 3 learnings as well from you. But it has been a learning podcast, I must say. Interesting discussion, definitely, but a lot of learning points for me personally as well. So thanks for being with us today. Thanks for giving us all the insights that you gave us, not just about VuNet, but about your leadership philosophy as well, and what kind of journey, the realistic journey that you have spent over the last decade. And wish you and the team all the very best.
Thank you so much, Mohit.